In the Stranger Things universe, there are all sorts of different monsters and terrifying creatures that inhabit the alternate dimension known as the Upside Down, but at the absolute pinnacle of them all lies Vecna. This guy is a highly advanced psychic predator who was once human but has evolved into something far more sinister, and he basically resides in a terrifying mindscape within the Upside Down. He only seeks to destroy humanity and merge the dimensions to create a world of his own design. He is known and feared across Hawkins and the Upside Down as a merciless monster blessed with unstoppable telekinetic power and a hive mind connection that lets him see everything. One Vecna is usually enough to threaten the entire fabric of reality alone. Strength, control, and sadism are everything to this guy, but there's a specific history here that makes him stand head and shoulders above the rest, one with so much power that all others like the Demogorgons are no more than ants to him. This entity is Henry Creel, also known as One, and I intend to give you all a pretty good understanding of how powerful this guy is in the context of the story. To understand just how powerful Vecna is, you can't just look at his tentacled form in the Upside Down. You have to go back to the beginning, to the human named Henry Creel. This is where the story gets absolutely wild because his power started way before the lab. Born sometime in the late 40s, Henry was already wired differently. His dad, Victor, thought he was just sensitive, but Henry knew better. He felt broken, or rather, the world told him he was broken. But the real kickstart to his power wasn't just genetics. It was an event that happened when he was just a kid living in Nevada. Being around 8 years old, exploring caves, he stumbled upon stolen tech from a shadowy government experiment. He didn't just find a cool souvenir, he accidentally transported himself to Dimension X. This is a massive detail for power scaling because it means Henry has been touched by another reality since childhood. He spent 12 hours in this alien landscape, seeing things that would melt a normal person's brain, and he came back changed. He had a different blood type and a connection to a shadowy entity that would define his entire existence. This exposure to Dimension X is like the radioactive spider bite for Spider-Man, but infinitely darker. It unlocked something in him, or maybe it gave him something new, but either way, it set him on a path to becoming a telekinetic powerhouse. By the time the Creel family moved to Hawkins in the late 50s to start over, Henry was already a ticking time bomb. He didn't care about the fresh start. To him, Hawkins was just another place filled with the same mundane, meaningless human existence he loathed. He hated the structure of society, the waking up, the eating, the working, the sleeping. He saw it all as a pathetic play that everyone was forced to act in. But then he found the spiders. In the bathroom vent of their new house, he found a nest of black widows, and he fell in love. Not in a weird way, but in a philosophical way. He saw them as the ultimate predators, creatures that brought balance and order by preying on the weak, yet they were misunderstood and feared by humans. This is where his worldview crystallized. He wanted to be the predator. He wanted to be the spider. It wasn't long before he realized he could actually make that happen. He discovered he could manipulate matter with his mind. He started messing with the grandfather clock, but quickly escalated to torturing and killing animals. This part is gruesome, but it shows the early stages of his control. He was reaching into their minds, feeling their fear. It was practice. He was learning how to be a predator. But the really scary part is the conflicting accounts of his motivation. Henry claims he did it because he wanted to, because he saw through the facade of human life. But there's another angle that suggests the shadowy entity from Dimension X was already influencing him, pushing him to violence. Whether it was his choice or the influence of a dark god, the result was the same: a boy with the power to kill with a thought. The situation in the Creel house spiraled out of control when Henry decided to turn his powers on his family. This is where we see the sheer magnitude of what he can do, even as a child. He psychologically tortured his father, Victor, by making him hallucinate his worst war memories. Imagine having the power to dig into someone's brain, find their most traumatic memory, and make them relive it on a loop while they are sitting at the dinner table. That is psych warfare on a level that most villains can only dream of. When his mother, Virginia, started catching on and wanted to send him away to a doctor, Henry decided it was time to end the charade. The massacre of 1959 is one of the most brutal displays of power in the entire story. It was a systematic execution. He snapped his mother's bones and imploded her eyes while his family sat there helplessly. He did the same to his sister, Alice. He tried to take out his dad too, but he overexerted himself. This is an important weakness to note. Back then, using his powers took a physical toll. He passed out, slipping into a coma, which allowed Victor to survive and take the fall for the murders. But even in failure, Henry had destroyed his entire life and killed 2 people with nothing but his mind. That is terrifying. After the massacre, everyone thought Henry died, but we know better. He was taken in by Dr. Martin Brenner, the man who would become the architect of all the misery in Hawkins. Brenner saw Henry not as a monster, but as a potential weapon. He labeled him 001, the first subject. But here's the thing, Henry was too strong. Brenner couldn't control him. He tried to test him, tried to use him, but eventually he realized that Henry was too dangerous. So he put a chip called Soteria in Henry's neck to suppress his powers. This is a huge proof of Henry's strength. The government couldn't weaponize him. They had to cage him. They were so afraid of what he could do that they turned him into an orderly, a glorified janitor, just to keep an eye on him while they tried to replicate his powers in other kids. Kids like 11. For years, Henry lived as a prisoner in plain sight, biding his time. He watched the other kids, the experiments, and he saw himself in 11. He saw her anger, her isolation, and her raw power. He started grooming her, acting like the nice, friendly orderly who just wanted to help. He gave her advice on how to channel her emotions, how to use her anger to fuel her telekinesis. He was playing the long game, and it worked. 11, thinking he was her friend, removed the Soteria chip. The moment that chip came out, all hell broke loose. This brings us to the massacre at Hawkins' lab in 1909. If you thought the Creel house was bad, this was a slaughterhouse. Henry, finally unleashed after decades of suppression, went on a rampage. He decimated the entire program. He killed the other test subjects, the kids who had powers like his, tossing them around like ragdolls. He wanted to wipe the slate clean. This event proves that in a straight-up fight against other superpowered beings, Henry is in a league of his own. He took out an entire squad of psychic kids without breaking a sweat. The only person who stood in his way was 11. Their confrontation in the Rainbow Room is legendary. Henry tried to get her to join him, to burn the world down together, but she refused. They fought, and for a minute, it looked like Henry was going to win. He pinned her against the wall, ready to crush her just like he did everyone else. But 11 tapped into a memory of love, of her mother, and managed to overpower him. She didn't kill him, though. She blasted him through a hole in reality, sending him spiraling into a dimension of storms and lightning. This banishment is crucial because it evolved him. As he fell through this interdimensional hellscape, he was struck by lightning over and over again. His skin burned away, his humanity was stripped perfectly, and he transformed into the monster we know as Vecna. He landed in a mysterious, unspoiled realm and started exploring. He found a swirling mass of shadow particles, the very essence of this dimension. Using his mind, he shaped this mass into a giant spider-like creature, creating the Mind Flayer. The Mind Flayer, the massive entity that terrorized Hawkins for years, was Henry's creation. He is the architect of the hive mind. He connected himself to every creature, every vine, every spore in that dimension. When the Demogorgons hunt, it is Vecna pulling the strings. When the Mind Flayer possessed will, it was Vecna reaching through. He is the Upside Down. His consciousness is spread across an entire reality that is a level of power that goes beyond simple telekinesis. He is an omnipresent god in his own universe. For years, he operated from the shadows, testing the barrier between worlds. He used the Demogorgons. He used the Mind Flayer. He used Will Byers. But in 1986, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He realized he didn't need a gate to be open for him. He could open them himself by creating a psychic connection with victims in the real world. This brings us to the curse. Vecna's method of killing in the 4th season is psychologically devastating. He targets teenagers with trauma, guilt, and shame. He invades their minds, tormenting them with hallucinations of their worst secrets. He wears them down until they are paralyzed with fear, and then he strikes. The way he kills is visceral. He levitates them, snaps their bones, and gouges their eyes out, all while he is sitting in the Upside Down in a meditative trance. He doesn't even have to be in the same dimension to murder you. He creates a psychic bridge and just destroys you from the inside out. And every time he kills someone, he rips a hole in the fabric of reality, opening a gate. His plan was to open 4 gates and cause a massive earthquake that would merge the Upside Down with Hawkins. And the terrifying part? He succeeded. Despite the best efforts of the crew, despite 11 fighting him in the mental plane, he managed to kill Max Mayfield for just long enough to trigger the cataclysm. He won. Hawkins was split open. But if you think that was the peak of his power, you are wrong. Based on what we know about the situation heading into the final act, Vecna is only getting stronger. The events following the earthquake show a villain who is fully in control and escalating his game. We are looking at a scenario where Hawkins is under military occupation, but the military is getting absolutely wrecking by Vecna's forces. He has demogorgons that are more coordinated, stronger, and more lethal than ever before. He is sending them on specific retrieval missions, treating them like special ops soldiers rather than wild animals. One of the most disturbing displays of his evolving power is how he targets Holly Wheeler, the younger sister of Mike and Nancy. This is where we see that he hasn't lost his ability to be manipulative and human when it suits him. He appears to Holly not as a monster but as Mr. Whatsit, a friendly, well-dressed man. He projects an image of his human self, Henry Creel, looking dapper and kind. He grooms this little girl, telling her he can save her family, effectively luring her into his trap without lifting a finger in anger. This shape-shifting, psychological manipulation is almost scarier than the bone-breaking. It shows he understands human weakness and knows exactly how to exploit it. He kidnaps her to his lair, not by force, but by trust. His control over the Upside Down is also manifested physically in the form of the Wall. This is a massive, organic barrier that surrounds the center of the alternate dimension, protecting his stronghold at the library. It is so strong that even Eleven and Hopper can't just smash through it. It is a physical symbol of his dominance, and inside his mind, it is a prison. He keeps the souls of his victims trapped in a mindscape that is described as a planet ruled by a giant evil brain. He gives them twisted choices, suicide, acceptance, or escape, but escape is rigged. He is playing God with their souls. Then there is the connection with Will Byers. This has always been the wild card. Will has a link to the hive mind, which means he can sense Vecna. But in the newest developments, we see that this connection goes both ways and is intensifying. Will is starting to level up in a way that mirrors Vecna. There is a moment where Will's eyes roll back and he actually takes control of the Demogorgons, contorting them just like Vecna does. This implies that Vecna's power is so potent that it is bleeding into Will, turning him into a vessel or a mirror. Vecna explicitly states that Will was the first and showed him what was possible. He is planning to use this connection, along with 12 kidnapped children, to reshape the world entirely. He thinks adults are a lost cause, but children are malleable. They can be broken and rebuilt into his perfect subjects. When you look at his physical stats, the guy is a tank. In the showdown at the Creel house, he took 2 Molotov cocktails to the face and body. He was set on fire, burning alive. Then he was blasted with a shotgun multiple times, the force of it knocking him out of a 3rd-story window. And when the heroes ran down to check the body, he was gone. He just walked it off. He has superhuman durability that borders on immortality. He can regenerate, he can withstand extreme trauma, and he feels very little pain. Combine that with telekinesis that can hold back 11, who can literally move trains and close interdimensional rifts, and you have a physical threat that is nearly unstoppable. His telekinetic reach is also limitless. He doesn't need line of sight. He can find you in the dark, in another dimension, in your dreams. He can manipulate the vines in the Upside Down to ensnare you from miles away. He can possess creatures and people, using them as meat puppets to do his bidding. The hive mind allows him to be everywhere at once. If a Demobat sees you, Vecna sees you. If a vine brushes against your leg, Vecna knows where you are. There is no hiding from him. But his greatest strength might be his intellect and his philosophy. He has a philosophy about order and chaos, about the weakness of humanity. He believes he is fixing the world. He sees himself as the cure to the human virus. This conviction makes him incredibly dangerous because he can't be reasoned with. He truly believes he is the hero of his own story. He has the patience to wait decades to execute a plan. He has the strategic mind to outmaneuver the US government, Soviet spies, and a team of psychic kids. Comparing him to other villains in the show is almost unfair. The Demogorgon in Season 1 was scary, sure, but it was just a hungry animal. The Mind Flayer in Season 2 and 3 was a massive, looming threat, but it felt impersonal, like a force of nature. Vecna is personal. He has a history with the town, with the lab, with 11. He talks to his victims, he taunts them. He wants them to know why they are dying. That level of sadism, combined with his godlike power set, puts him in a category of his own. Is he invincible? Probably not. We have seen him bleed, we have seen him run. We know that 11 can match him in raw power when she is fully charged and emotionally focused. We know that music can disrupt his psychic hold on a victim, providing a brief window of escape. We know that fire hurts him, but these are small cracks in otherwise impenetrable armor. To beat him, the heroes have to be perfect. They have to coordinate across dimensions, use every ounce of their strength, and get lucky. Vecna just has to win once. The implications of his plan involving the 12 children and the reshaping of the world suggest that his power is about to scale up even further. He is trying to build a new one from scratch, with himself at the center. He is moving from being a conqueror to being a creator. If he succeeds in corrupting Will and the other kids, he will have a legion of psychic soldiers at his command, all connected to his hive mind. That is a threat level that goes beyond Hawkins, beyond the US, and threatens the entire human race. So how strong is Vecna? When you really step back and look at the timeline, it is terrifying how consistent he has been. From the moment he found that spider nest in the 50s, he has been on a singular path to dominance. He hasn't wavered. He hasn't redeemed himself. He has just gotten stronger, meaner, and more efficient. He turned his family home into a grave, the lab into a slaughterhouse, and the alternate dimension into his throne room. He turned the sweet, sensitive boy named Henry Creel into a memory and replaced him with a monster that feeds on suffering. We also have to talk about the military aspect because it really highlights the scale of the threat. In most monster movies, the army shows up and things get loud, but eventually the superior firepower wins, or at least holds the line. In the current state of Hawkins, the military is fully deployed. They have tanks, helicopters, soldiers with automatic weapons, and Vecna is making them look like amateurs. His control over the environment means the terrain itself is hostile. The vines, the spores, the sudden ambushes from the ground. Traditional warfare doesn't work against a hive mind that controls the battlefield. When Hopper and his team are getting jumped in the Upside Down, it is clear that bullets are just a stopgap measure. You can shoot a Demogorgon, but you can't shoot a psychic signal. You can't bomb a nightmare. Vecna has effectively neutralized the most powerful military on Earth simply by existing in a different plane and fighting a guerrilla war with monsters he controls telepathically. So, Vecna is a psychic god who started as a creepy kid, survived an interdimensional exile, built an army of monsters from dust, conquered an alternate reality, and broke the world. He has the durability of a tank, the mind of a genius, the cruelty of a serial killer, and the powers of a superhero gone wrong. He is the reason the lights flicker. He is the reason you check the clock. He is the dark reflection of everything the heroes stand for. Strong doesn't even begin to cover it. He is absolute, terrifying power personified.